Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we're peeling back the layers of an incredibly familiar brand to expose a deeply strange and honestly fascinating history. I mean, right now, somewhere in the world, someone is popping open a can of Coca-Cola. Actually, scratch that, not somewhere, everywhere. But what almost nobody knows is that the story of how this drink came to be is literally one of the strangest, darkest tales in business history.
Just to wrap our heads around the sheer scale of what we're dealing with here, over 2 billion servings are consumed every single day. 2 billion. And that's across more than 200 countries, which, by the way, is more countries than are in the United Nations. But the origin of this absolute global empire? It's surprisingly dark. It didn't start in some fancy corporate boardroom. It started with a guy in a lot of pain mixing up a syrup that contained something, well, highly illegal today.
The cocaine tonic.
So let's rewind the clock all the way back to 1865, right after the American Civil War. We've got a wounded veteran and pharmacist named John Pemberton who returns home to Atlanta. He's broke, and he's hooked on the morphine they gave him for his battle wounds. Desperate for a cure, he tries to cash in on the 1880s cocaine craze. You know, back when doctors actually prescribed cocaine for everything from a headache to a bad mood. He creates a wine-based nerve tonic called Pemberton's French Wine Coca. But then, boom, a sudden 1886 prohibition law in Atlanta bans alcohol, forcing him right back to the drawing board.
Now, believe it or not, that prohibition law led directly to an accidental stroke of absolute genius. Pemberton removed the wine and started tweaking the recipe. Then, on one very specific afternoon, May 8th, 1886, his assistant makes a critical mistake. They accidentally mixed the new syrup with carbonated water instead of regular, still water. One taste, and they instantly realized they had stumbled onto something incredible.
He called it Coca-Cola, naming it after its two key ingredients, the coca leaf and the cola nut for a kick of caffeine. He started selling it down at the local pharmacy soda fountain for just 5 cents a glass. But it wasn't exactly an overnight sensation, guys. In that entire first year, he was moving only about 9 servings a day. I mean, just contrast that tiny number 9 with the 2 billion we were just talking about.
Securing the secret formula. Okay, so the reality of that early formula brings us to a chapter of the company's history they definitely don't advertise today. The original drink contained a meaningful dose of actual, literal cocaine extracted from the coca leaf. And it wasn't even a secret. In 1886, this was a major selling point. It was marketed as a health drink and a nerve tonic. But as the U.S. started heavily regulating the drug, the company was forced to quietly remove the cocaine in 1903. Amazingly, though, they kept that decoconized coca leaf flavor, and yep, they still use it today. This precise blend of ingredients is the foundation of what's called Merchandise 7X. It's a formula so heavily guarded, it's basically one of the most famous trade secrets in human history. For over a century, the full formula was reportedly only known by 2 people at any given time. And get this, they were never allowed to fly on the same plane together, just in case, to prevent the secret from dying with them. Today, the original document sits locked up in a dedicated high-security vault in Atlanta. Hundreds of chemists have tried to reverse engineer it, and absolutely nobody has fully succeeded.
The marketing playbook. But hey, a great formula isn't enough to conquer the globe, right? You need a brilliant business mind. And unfortunately for John Pemberton, he just didn't have one. Sick and broke, he sold off pieces of his creation before passing the torch. Enter Asa Griggs Candler. This guy was an incredibly aggressive businessman. Step 1 of his playbook? Acquire the total rights to Coca-Cola by 1891 for a mere $2,300. Talk about a steal. Step 2 was utterly revolutionary for the time. He distributed free coupons. By getting consumers hooked on the taste with a free sample, Step 3, rapid expansion, was totally inevitable. Coca-Cola was being sold in every single U.S. state by 1895.
The bottle and the brand.
Now, because of Candler's massive success, dozens of copycat competitors started popping up, trying to sell fake, knockoff versions. The company desperately needed a way for consumers to know they were getting the real deal. So, in 1915, they hired the Root Glass Company. Taking inspiration from the shape of a copepod, they designed the iconic contour bottle. The goal here was to make a shape so distinctive you could recognize it just by touching it in the dark, or even if it was smashed on the ground. It was such a design triumph that it literally ended up in the Museum of Modern Art in New York.
Inventing modern Santa Claus.
With the bottle so famous, it became fine art. The brand set its sights way beyond just selling beverages. They actually began shaping global culture itself. Check this out. Before 1931, Santa Claus didn't really have a set look. He was wildly inconsistent. Sometimes he was tall, sometimes short, sometimes he wore green or even blue. But then, Coca-Cola hired illustrator Haddon Sundblom for a Christmas ad campaign. Sundblom painted Santa as this large, jolly, warm guy wearing a red suit that perfectly matched Coca-Cola's corporate branding. Those ads ran for 33 years, and they permanently shifted the entire world's image of Santa Claus into the one we all recognize today. Crazy, right?
War, failure, and domination. Coca-Cola didn't just shape holidays, though. They brilliantly leveraged global conflict to cement their worldwide empire. In 1941, right during World War II, the CEO made this incredibly bold promise. Every deployed American soldier could buy a Coke for a nickel, anywhere in the world. The U.S. military actually viewed the drink as essential to troop morale. So they helped build 64 overseas bottling plants across Europe, Africa, and the Pacific. Soldiers drink it in active war zones, and when the war ended, those 64 plants became the ultimate springboard for Coca-Cola's post-war global domination. So fast forward to 1960, and they're in over 100 countries. But absolute success can breed absolute paranoia. In 1985, Coca-Cola faced a totally self-inflicted crisis. Pepsi had been gaining market share with these blind taste tests, where people consistently preferred Pepsi's sweeter flavor. Terrified that they were losing their crown, Coca-Cola panicked.
And this panic led to what is widely considered the biggest mistake in marketing history. They actually changed their 99-year-old formula, launching New Coke. Guys, the catastrophe was immediate. They triggered 1,500 angry phone calls every single day. People organized actual protest rallies in the streets. Loyalists began desperately stockpiling cases of the original Coke before it vanished forever. It was just an incredibly embarrassing corporate failure. It took exactly 79 days. Just 79 days of relentless, overwhelming public outrage for the company to finally throw in the towel. They pulled New Coke from the shelves and quickly brought back the original formula, renaming it Coca-Cola Classic. But here is the profound irony of this entire blunder. It's actually amazing. The overwhelming public backlash accidentally acted as the ultimate marketing campaign. It reminded the entire world exactly how deeply attached they were to the original drink. Sales of the original formula surged even higher after the disaster. Some people to this day swear it was a masterfully planned marketing stunt, though the company fiercely denies it.
So, from a morphine-addicted pharmacist mixing in illegal syrup to a product that literally followed troops into war zones and guarded a secret formula in a high-security vault for over 130 years, this clearly isn't just a history of a beverage. It's the story of one of the most powerful cultural forces in human history, scaling all the way up to 2 billion daily servings. Having peeled back the layers of this universally recognized brand in our explainer today, we really want to leave you with one final thought. Consider the accidental carbonated water, the original cocaine tonic, the secret vault, and the literal invention of the modern Santa Claus. The next time you hear that familiar pop and fizz, will you look at that red can the exact same way?